Starting up with Virtue Zone on a Friday morning. Talking leadership, what sets a leader apart from bosses? Neil Petch is alongside me. All good at the good ship Virtue Zone at the moment?
Well, the best thing about it is how much I'm learning this morning.
You got your reading sorted out, haven't you, eh?
Certainly have.
Something for the weekend. Now, if you want to share your thoughts on this topic, share your leadership style, or give your boss a shout out, or not, here's the perfect platform. You can text us now on 4001, or you can WhatsApp on 0487155500. We've got James Michael Lafferty, former CEO of Fine Holdings, Coca-Cola and P&G, and of course Olympic coach and trainer, Dr. Corrie, the executive coach and author of Chief Executive Coach, and Catherine Jeha, the head of training at ProClipse Consulting. So how does leadership show up in real life, and how we communicate with each other, how we manage or how we solve problems that are put in front of us? Let's get some real life examples and scenarios. Catherine, let's get over to you if we can, because I mean, a lot of people would turn to the powers of micromanagement. Is that a good place to start, or do you need to blend micromanagement with something a bit more macro?
In my opinion, it is not a very good place to start. It is, empowerment is where you get results. Having said that, in certain situations, you might need to be on top of everything in order to manage it. However, the results that you will achieve when you are empowering people is way fast, much better than when you micromanage. And this is where I have learned it from the hard way in that aspects, because I did have a lot of micromanagers, and I had managers who were very empowering. And the results was, it was only me. It was, it's the same person having different results. And this is the impact of the way they manage and solve problems within the organization. And this is actually how leadership shows up. It doesn't show up only in the strategy positioning and, sessions that they do, or in the grand vision that they come up with, but it shows in every single everyday choices that they make, and how they treat people and how they navigate through challenges. And this is how it is appear in the way they communicate with people. And if you want to get real life examples for that, I admired one executive who was leading a very big project that unfortunately failed, and it did not achieve the results that was that needed to be achieved. And the first thing that he did is he gathered the people around him, and they were all afraid and scared from what is going to happen. He did not blame. He just asked them, appreciate their efforts, and asked them, what did we learn from that, and how can we move forward? And that question changed the mindset of the team from a fear mindset, as you were saying, Corrie, into a growth mindset. And I believe this is really emotional intelligence in action. And this is how it shows up in very small moments. The difference between micromanagement and empowerment.
EQ. James, let's talk real life examples if we can. Give us an idea. Given all your experience, etc. Give us an example of how leadership motivated or transformed a team that you were involved with or otherwise.
For me, it's examples of when people walk the talk. All bosses speak a good game. They'll tell you things like your family is first, or we do the right thing. The question isn't what's said in a normal day, it's what happens when this really hits the ground. I'll give you an example. I know a leader that, the employee died suddenly out of nowhere and left a young baby and a wife. And this guy went to the organization and said, look, we have to support this family. They put together a whole scholarship program for the son, put together everything. And I know that leader was sent hundreds of letters from the organization saying, this place walks the talk. You walk the talk. I will lay on train tracks for you. It's what happens when you have to, for me, I'll try to simplify it, but Corrie's got great history on this, I'm sure. When it's between money and principle, profit and principle, what do you pick? And what I see is the weaker, the non-leaders, in fact, they always go for the profit. So they'll say, yeah, your family is first, but if you can't work full-time right now, I got to let you go because we need the profit. Or, okay, you're dead. We'll have a funeral service and we'll have some, a catered party. but that's it. We're not going to spend any money after you're now out of the organization. It's really about that principle of, is it money? Or is it the real principles that I say rule this organization? That's when you see the leader come out.
Corrie, over to you as well on this. I mean,
Real life examples?
yeah, exactly, if you can.
Got it. Easy. Really quick to mind now because of the success they're having now is Reith from Fly Dubai,
Yeah.
CEO of Fly Dubai. So during the pandemic in 2020, his attitude, it was the most devastated industry in the world, aviation. And his attitude toward his people was, I don't kick children out of my family because I can't afford to feed them. I don't kick people out of my tribe. We don't send anybody home. We're gonna keep these people on as much as we can, keep their licenses up, give them as much as we possibly can, give them NOCs so they can work outside. We're gonna make it as free and fair as possible. Those who want out can leave, but we're not exiting anybody. And it was that attitude that kept his army standing, right? Like no king in history ever sent their army home because they couldn't afford to feed them. They just sack another town. So he's looking for another market to take over. So Reith had that wisdom. And so he kept his army standing, and you can see the results of that singular decision. It was a huge sacrifice for the first year, but in the second year, they had the army standing when the aviation industry came back online. They didn't have a 6-week or a 6-month ramp-up period to try to bring new people on, bring them back, get their licenses back, get their pilot's licenses back. He didn't have that. He could respond to the market immediately, and you see the benefit of that now in the awards that they've won now. It's like 4 or 5 years later for their industry standard service and the changes that they're making. It's absolutely an incredible story.
If only he could steal some of the leadership qualities in his beloved Arsenal Football Club. Maybe they'd be doing better in the Premier League this season. I'm not sure. Neil Petch, nodding away, taking it all in.
I'm just going to say sort of the practical side of things. What Gaith did, amazing. What leaders of countries and sports teams have done, amazing. But those are the exceptions that prove the rule. What you can do every single day is if you are striving for that little bit more, because trust is hard-earned and easily lost. And so there is someone mentioned this fear culture, a fear of making a mistake. If you can really get it within your organization that it's okay to make a mistake because it means you're pushing yourself. But when you make a mistake, it's our mistake, it's not your mistake. The thing that really, really annoys me is we do something wrong and then the fingers are, I know it was that department, no, it was this. It doesn't matter. Learn from it and get it right. And if you've got that culture where you are doing a little bit more for people the whole time, then the situation when COVID happens and you need people to come in, and we had it within VirtuZone, we same thing. People couldn't come in and set up a company because they didn't have an entry stamp. And we were like, where are we going to be in a month's time? And our staff as one came in and it wasn't management and the staff, it was everybody together. And it was that. How did we achieve that? I think it probably took 15 years to achieve that, 15 years of trying.
I think you've done really well creating a mistake-making culture. You have to be making mistakes. First of all, if you're not running fast enough to trip and fall, you're not running fast enough to be on my team. Okay, that's number one. Secondly, you can make as many mistakes as you want to with me, but you cannot hide them and you cannot repeat them, and we will solve them together. The mistakes that we make lead to innovations, and those innovations are what help us to drive our own growth, drive our adaptation to the market, and sometimes give us the opportunity to disrupt what's going on in the market. So if we're not making mistakes, that's a red flag.
Let's talk red flags if we
Completely
can. Yeah, I want to talk red flags because they're sort of common themes, they're common stereotypes, they're common red flags when it comes to bad leadership, Catherine. Are there things that you should look at? Are there certain things that you see in leaders that you go, that's a bad leadership, as opposed to a good leader?
Well,
I just wondered if there are any sort of, when it comes to leadership skills, I know a lot of people will go, good leaders are these people because they've got this, that, and that. When it comes to bad leaders, James, maybe I could put the same question to you. Is there?
Absolutely. I mean, I believe people join people and people leave people. They don't join companies and leave companies.
And they don't leave.
If you look at a company and you see all their top talent is leaving, you got a huge leadership problem. Like, I'm a chairman of a company here, Care, which is a home health care company. They've never lost an employee. They've never, in a high turnover industry, they've never lost. It's because the CEO builds an environment that everybody wants to stay. And if I see a leader, like, I'll bet if he left a company A and went to company B, like 20 people would follow. That tells me all I need to know about the leadership. People will follow their great leaders, and they'll go with them. And that, there are many, many clear red flags or good signals, depending on how you want to look at it.
Tom, of all the people listening to this show, you know, there's going to be a few really, really, really bad leaders and a few really, really good leaders. If this show's objective is to help people get better, and we're targeting as many people as we can, it's the ones that are half good that if we can influence them. So, you know, one of the things is a leader who's pretty good but could be better. Someone who is, you know, is drives forward and has got the company there, but do they listen? Do they listen to new ideas? And are their staff scared to say to them, hey, what about this? So that's a limiting thing that I think to the majority of people listening, how can I get better now?
Is that something you agree with, Catherine?
100%. And for me, really, a good leader is a person who is invested in every single employee, in the way they do. And this is where I had the experience, and I learned it, the hard way, because I had a very bad manager who was really putting me down. And every time I speak one time, actually it was only one time I spoke and I shared an idea, and the response was, this is not how we do things over here. Just stick to the plan. And that really had a very bad impact on me for a very long time, not only in that role, but in future jobs, until I got a very good manager who was a leader by all means, a leader who was, in as you said, in encouraging dialogues, sharing ideas, making sure that there is a room for everybody to be heard. And what really set them apart is not only in that meeting room, but how they dealt with us outside. They observed and they connected with every single employee, with every single team member. And what she did is she really saw something deeper in myself. And this is where she started coaching me, and consistently and gently, and making sure that she believed in me. She showed me the belief in me way before I remembered how I believed in myself. And by encouraging me and, working and coaching, supporting me, this is where I started to rebuild my confidence later on. And this is what, in my opinion, is a true leader. Is a
Have you ever
person
been
who
asked a
connects.
question by someone, and just as you start to answer, you see them go to their phone? Well, there's an easy way to improve. When you ask a question, make sure your phone's face down on the table.
Face down. We're going to take a little breather now. When we come back, we'll have more from the team. In fact, we're going to look at leadership down the ages as well. What sets a leader apart from bosses? That's our big talker today about all things leadership and leadership skills. Starting up with Virtue Zone, getting loads of messages in. People loving it.
Your ARN News.
I'm Serena Kelly, the UA.
Yeah, bit of Mark Ronson and Miley Cyrus for us on a Friday morning as we talk leadership. Thanks for all your messages coming in. Loads of messages this morning. This one from Hilson out there. Example of a bad leader. Imposition of new processes, systems and goals for employees without seeking the opinion and the feedback of your team. Authoritarian style leadership. Hilson, thank you for that. This one from one of our listeners out there from the team down at protectyourmom.asia. I run a breast cancer awareness campaign by children. I make my leaders heroes, getting them into media over 10 times, etc. So much so that they in turn become role models for all. Over 400 kids are leading the campaign now. And this one from Daruna there this morning. Absolutely love these conversations. Love the words used, such as influence and love. Keep them coming from Darun. We will do exactly that in the company of our special guests here this morning. James Michael Lafferty, Dr. Corrie Block and Catherine and Jeha are all here with Neil and myself as we talk leadership, which isn't about the corner office anymore, the biggest office in the building. Remote work startups, freelancing, well, they're changing the game of the workspace. But who is leading this moment? Dare I say it? I'll say it quietly. Gen Z? Those born from 1997 to 2012, as soon as you start the generation game, the messages start coming in. A number of surveys out there at the moment that say a majority of the Gen Zers are opposed to management. They call it conscious unbossing at the moment. Conscious unbossing. Conscious unbossing, Catherine, is that a thing? Is that something that you believe in, or is it all about authenticity?
It is all about authenticity, I believe. It's all about purpose, and especially with this young generations, this is what they really need. They need a different model of leadership. They need a leadership model that is built on authenticity, on purpose. It's a leadership that's built on feedback, because they live with the real world. They understand what is real and what's not real. They grow online. They're growing online, and they are using so much of the social media, which really created a radar for them to understand what is real and what is not real. And what they need is they need humans. They need leaderships who are human, a leadership who is willing to say, I don't know, and let's figure it out together. And exactly what Michael has said before is that they need to find a solution with it together. They need to understand. They want somebody who is honest with them, and this is where they get loyalty. And if you look at the purpose, they want to know what is it, why it doesn't matter. Why are we doing this?
So feedback is key.
This is more of a purpose. And when we find that the leaders are the ones that really connect the dots between everyday's work, activities and the bigger mission, this is where, such as, for example, if you talk about sustainability, innovation, inclusion, and this is where they will be able to earn their contribution and engagement.
Interesting.
I have worked with the startup group, and we have, I found that most of the young people were rallied around their co-founder, not because they had the answers, but because they were acting themselves. They were not afraid to share their mistakes. They asked for input, and they did look for, admitted when they were overwhelmed. And this is what this young generation really needs. And as you mentioned, also feedback. It is something that's very important, because they want to have a real feedback, constructive and honest, on the spot.
James, I want to get you into the conversation here, because I want to tap into your coaching background, Olympic coach, trainer as well. I mean, it's interesting. Listen to a lot of the chat we're having here, and I was wondering whether, and you were talking about, leaders, and one of the great, Neil and I love our rugby, etc. One of the great English rugby leaders, Martin Johnson. I always remember his players, the Rugby World Cup winning coach or captain. The players said that we would literally go through walls for Martin Johnson. They would follow behind. But is there certain things? How do you instill belief? Can you learn from sports to take it into a boardroom?
Absolutely. I mean, when I came into Procter & Gamble as a fitness instructor, and I was coaching track and field. And I was coaching inner city 13 and 14-year-olds. My competition wasn't other schools. My competition was drugs, pregnancy, and crime. And so I had to pitch a vision to these kids. And the vision was, listen to me, come and sweat every day, have me yelling at you and egging you on, and I'm going to help you get a college scholarship and change your life. And that was the vision. And I didn't save everybody, but I saved a lot. And today those kids are in their 50s. My shot putter, she just got her PhD. And I'm so proud of her. This was an inner city kid, and she just got her PhD. When I came into P&G, I realized pretty quickly, even though I was a kid, I knew more about managing people than some of these MBAs, where the MBA stood for mediocre but arrogant. I mean, it wasn't an MBA, a Master in Business Administration. It starts with being able to paint a picture of the future and inspire people, inspire them to follow you, inspire them to push harder, inspire them to do things they never thought was possible. So I think sports analogies are very relevant. I still am coaching. I bring my athletes to talk. I think, my friend here made a great comment earlier, said Olympic athletes have coaches. 100% true. Every senior leader should have a coach. The best in the sports world, the best in all parts of the world have coaches, but many business people say, I don't need anyone to help me. we all need a coach. And I think it's a brilliant point that he made. So I want to learn from the world. I'll learn from a ballerina. I'll learn from an artist. I'll learn from a physician. I can learn from all walks of life how to be successful in business.
Let's get the thoughts of Dr. Block now, if we can, because when I mentioned conscious unbossing, your head went back like that, Corrie. Discuss.
Yeah, okay, so conscious unbossing. Look, meaning is the new money for millennials and Gen Zs, right? They know. We figured out along the way as we grew up as Gen X that we were born into the most abundant time in all of human history. Well, millennials and Gen Zs, they've known that from birth. They know the only thing more common than money on this planet is air. Okay, so they can afford to find meaning in the work that they're doing and who they're doing it with. And they don't actually care much about what they do, but they care a lot about who they're doing it with and why they're doing it. So when they consciously unboss, that's their way of saying, I'm just going to be a pirate here, and I'm going to steal as much as I can, and I'm going to give back as little as I can until I figure out what I want to do. And you're just going to coast me through to my next stage. But make no mistake, they understand that the half of their life that they're giving to whatever it is that they're doing every day, they're never going to get that time back. And they want it to be meaningful.
And Corrie, because that's happening, I'll give you an example of what you shouldn't do. In my opinion, a weak leader is someone who says, Gen Z, Gen this, because it's so easy to say that. You know, when someone is ill, they shouldn't self-diagnose. They should go to a professional, a doctor. And we as leaders, you know, I bet you get stuff done in your organization, James, because you said sometimes it's like being a parent, but you said it unapologetically. A lot of us now are like, it's like being a parent, and we're almost apologizing for it. If you want to do something, do it properly, commit to it, rather than half be apologizing for doing it as you start. So the younger people do need leadership. They do need to be inspired, and we should recognize that they have the right to make mistakes, and they have a right to be led.
But they need to be led by leaders who are also being led. See, you brought this up, great point. Okay, why are there so many executives that refuse coaching? The top performers in every human domain, the best violin players, the best surgeons, the best athletes in the world, all of them have coaches.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And we know from the studies on executive coaching that it yields massive ROI. My ROI on my executive coaching in one organization here across 6 roles yielded between 53 and 900x last year, in 1 year, on my coaching. And so we know the profitability of it, and yet we still have these arrogant leaders who say, actually, you know what? I'm better than an Olympic athlete is at their sport in my business. That's just ridiculous. For all of human history, we get better when we have somebody next to us who understands the game better than we play.
Can you recommend any good executive coaches, Corrie, or not?
Yeah, there's a few, actually. By name?
No, don't worry.
But
We'll
it is a pyramid, isn't it? So at the top, you're going to influence more people.
100%.
So you think you're doing the right thing by setting up training for the people at the inverted commas bottom of your organization, whereas actually, if you train yourself, then you're going to have so much more impact.
Well, that's the big challenge, though. There's really nothing off the shelf. All respect to Informa and INSEAD, Cambridge and Harvard, there's nothing off the shelf that's going to help a CXO of a company of 80,000 employees who's at the top of their industry right now. There's nothing there. You need something that an Olympic athlete uses to train for the Olympics, which is an Olympic coach. And an Olympic coach knows skill set, mindset. They know the viscosity of the material that their athlete's wearing. Okay, the athlete doesn't need to know all of that, but the coach does.
We're going to take a final breather. When we come back, we will get final thoughts, closing statements from the team as we face the jury that is our listener today. This is starting up with Virtue Zone, brought to you by our good friends at Virtue Zone. Do reach out to them. Really appreciate all the questions, all the comments. If we haven't had enough time to get to all of those, then worry not, because Virtue Zone, they're 25/8 these days. They're that good. 25/8, answering your comments, answering your thoughts. Get in touch with they via the social medias, and of course that all-important hashtag be your own boss. We wrap things up next.
Dubai Eye 103.8 traffic
With Yas Island Abu Dhabi. Stay at iconic hotels.
Starting up with Virtue Zone as we talk leadership, what sets leaders apart from bosses. I hope you've enjoyed the show thus far. If you would like to share your thoughts, you've got around about 5 minutes to do so. Text please on 4001. Let's end with some pearls of wisdom, if we may. I'm going to go around all of our special guests, ask them to tell us where we can find out more about they and what they do, how we can get in touch with them to continue the conversation, but also ask them what's the one thing every aspiring leader should remember in a line or two to wrap things up. So let's start with you, Catherine, if we can. Catherine Jeha, Head of Training, ProClipse Consulting. How do people get in touch?
Through LinkedIn. And the message, I'm there.
And the one thing that every aspiring leader should remember.
The one thing is, after hearing all this amazing discussion, I think if you want to lead, you listen, you lift, and you let others grow.
Love that. Nice and succinct as well. Great to have you with us. Dr. Corrie Block, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Corrie, how do people reach out?
Put my name into any LLM or Google, CORRIEBLOCK. I'm not difficult to find. The one thing, leadership is a follower-led sport.
Love it. Love it. Bring it back to the sport as well. Books available online?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've got a lot of books, but
You've given them all to Neil.
Yeah, I've given them all to Neil. Just keep in mind that leadership is not a solo sport. It's a team sport. There is no omni-talented leader. For you as a leader to close all of your leadership gaps would make you something close to a god, and that is not possible. So the best we can get in terms of finding omni-talented leadership is to surround yourself with people whose strengths are your weaknesses, and to trust them and collaborate with them.
Love that. Dr. B, bless you. Thanks very much indeed for being with us. Enjoyed the conversation. And James Michael Lafferty. James, how do people get in touch with you?
Yep, James Michael Lafferty. I'm on LinkedIn, easy to find, and also website, jamesmichaellafferty.com. The one thing I would say to all aspiring leaders out there is remember, people join people and people leave people. If you're having a problem retaining talent, the answer is in your mirror.
Love that. Good to have you with us. Thanks so much indeed for the conversation. Neil, I've never known Neil so quiet during starting up with Virtue Zone, which means, he's been listening. It's been a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say don't say it, do it. Don't accept that you are as good as you can ever be. Drive yourself to be more. And the third thing is go out to all the people you work with and say, don't tell me what I know already. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me something about myself that I can do better that is going to surprise me. And have an environment where they feel able to answer that truthfully. And if you have that environment, you will learn, you will get better, they will make more money, they'll be more healthy, they'll want to come in the morning. It'll be a lot of fun.
Neil, always a pleasure. Thanks very much indeed to you and all the team at Virtue Zone. Strength and honour, my friend. Should we do it all again next week?
Let's do it.
Let's do it all again next week. Big thanks to our special guest, to James, to Corrie, to Catherine. Big thanks to all of you for your messages. If you missed the discussion, it's going to be on the Dubai Eye website imminently. Look for Starting Up with Virtue Zone. We're going to see you same place, same time next week, where we're going to be talking about moving your business to the UAE. We might have a company that might be able to help with that. We are going to be speaking to those that have been there, done that, and they will give us their experiences. Stay tuned. You've got the agenda coming up in just a few minutes' time with KC. We'll be back next week. Bye-bye.
Starting Up with Virtue Zone on Dubai Eye 103.8.
Up with Virtue Zone live on Dubai Eye 103.8 FM. We do it each and every Friday between the hours of 10 and 11. But as always, we ask you to get in touch with the show. It's a show designed to help you, start up, but also scale your business and make the most of the assets you have to hand already. You can text us on 4001 with any questions. You can WhatsApp on 0487155500. My name is Tom Urquhart. Wouldn't be possible to do this without my own boss. That is, of course, Mr. Neil Petch, who joins us live, the Virtue Zone chairman. Mr. P is with us through till 11 o'clock. Neil, do you have any... Do you rule the leader, boss, Neil, Mr. Petch, Chairman.
As part of my infinite preparation for this show, I Googled it and up came an image of a boss sitting on a chair being towed by his workers. Goodness me, I hope that isn't representing what we're going to be talking about as a leader today. Partly, don't seek to be a friend, don't seek to be loved, seek to be respected. I suppose it's easy to come out with the glib stuff, right? But difficult decisions sometimes important as well. So maybe we're going to touch on that today.
We're going to do that in the presence of three very special guests in today's startup world, and even in the remote work, leadership is being redefined. Three very different leaders who represent the spectrum. One is a strong but compassionate leader who's led some big organizations. He's the former CEO of Fine Holdings, Coca-Cola and P&G, an Olympic coach and trainer, James Michael Lafferty, joining us this afternoon. This morning, getting ahead of myself. James, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
How do you define the difference between boss and leader?
Well, leader is really influencing others. And so I think the former president of the U.S., John Quincy Adams, said it right, which is a leader, if you're inspiring other people, driving them to actions, driving them to become better, then you can call yourself a leader.
Also joining us this morning, one who coaches leaders without hiring a team of his own. Doesn't believe in the traditional hierarchy. No, do away with that one. Executive coach, author of the much acclaimed Chief Executive Coach. It is Dr. Corrie Block joining us live this morning as well. Corrie, good to see you. Thanks so much indeed for joining us.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, it's lovely to be here.
Leader versus boss. How do you
It's
define?
a good question. A boss gets their authority from above, and a leader gets their authority from below. I think John Maxwell actually said it best, that a leader without followers is just going for a walk. So if you want to, leaders aren't made by other leaders, right? Like managers are made by other managers, that's true, but leaders are made by followers. So if you want to know whether or not you're a leader, look behind you.
Corrie, good to have you with us
My
here
pleasure.
today. Looking forward to our chats. And our other special guest completing the lineup today, somebody who teaches companies how to lead with impact, not title. But we'll give her title, Head of Training at ProClipse Consulting, Catherine Jeha. Catherine, great to have you with us here this morning as well. Same question to you, boss or leader?
Hi, good morning, and I'm happy to be here. In my opinion, the difference between a leader and a boss is that the boss commands authority, whereas a leader earns influence, I believe.
Great to have you with us.
Thank you.
Let's continue that theme if we can and get everyone to dive in on it, because I'm interested to find out more about your framework here on this one. You mentioned there the influence, but do people rely too heavily on titles as opposed to influence?
It depends on how they are being managed and done. But so many times people follow the title because they have to, and they are doing it because of because of fear and because of need to. Whereas when you go with a leader and they have the influence, this is how they earn it, and this is how they get you to empower you in order to move on with the with your work. So the boss, they rely mostly on the position to have their people follow, whereas the leader commands presence. And when I say commands presence, not through hierarchy, but through the way they engage people, the way they inspire people, and the way they support people.
That's interesting, Neil, because that's what you were mentioning just a few moments ago, the idea of position versus presence, or position over presence. I mean, your classic example of that, first one in, last one out.
Yeah, but I'm going to throw something. I'm going to ask for the help of the guys here, because just because you've achieved success as a leader and done something great, that opens the door, that gives you opportunity. It doesn't mean by definition that you're ready for the next stage of your company. So as a company transforms, and that famous expression, a leopard never changes its spots. So I've got where I am, presumably with a bit of luck and maybe a few skills. By divine right, it doesn't mean I'm right for the next stage of my company's journey. So what does a leader do to prepare themselves for the next stage?
It's worse than that. Your company's not ready for your company's next stage. So, because the environment in which we're doing business is changing a lot. You said something in the intro I thought that was really interesting, I'll circle back to that now, is that it is better to be respected than loved. And I don't think those are mutually exclusive categories. In fact, if you look at human history, and when we're talking about the context of leadership, humans, they will work really hard for a leader that they fear. They will. But they will fight for a leader that they respect, and they will kill and die for a leader that they love, especially one that they believe loves them back. Yeah. So I think it actually is more powerful for a leader to be loved than feared. And I do think love and fear are dichotomous, but love and respect aren't. And if we pursue those kinds of relationships where, yeah, we got to move beyond our organization chart in order to do this, where we live the life worthy of followership, then we graduate from boss through to manager, through to leader. And then people follow you, not because they have to, not because your business card is fatter than theirs. That's the lowest form. But because they want to, and then because of the difference that you're making in their lives, and then because of who you are and what you stand for.
Yeah, I've got one for you. I'm going to throw in some Latin here, Tom. Acta non verba. Deeds, actions, not words. So the key thing, I mean, Corrie, you've just given me a couple of books here, for which I thank you. We can all get a textbook and we can all know what's the right thing to do. When people are listening, how authentic are we? And it's that authenticism, is that the right word, Tom? But if you can do that authenticity, if you get that across, if they love you, as you were just saying, then that's then the message will be received much faster. And James, you've had so many different careers here.
I'm with my friend here. They are not mutually exclusive, love and respect, but it's very difficult to get both. And my advice to young leaders is you start with respect, because what the biggest mistake I see in companies today with young people is they go for love first. When you go for love first, you make all these mistakes. You don't give hard feedback because you're afraid that they won't love you. You don't give them the tough assignment and challenge them because you're afraid. You go for respect first, and then love can come. And my advice to young people: if you need love in the office, get a puppy. Get a puppy. That the puppy will lick your face and welcome you home every night. But start with respect, and then you're right. You can build the love, and that's the truly transformational leadership.
But it's the
when you have
juggling
respect
act,
and love,
isn't it? Because you want your team to own. You're all on the same page. You all know where you're driving to if you're communicating properly. So it's collaborative. But if you're too collaborative, then you're not leading necessarily.
I mean, sometimes it's like being a parent. It's not always hugging sometimes you have to spank a child. Sometimes you have to discipline a child. Sometimes you have to bury your size 45 shoe up someone's rear end, because that's what they need. I mean, leadership is not consistently hugging people and having pizza parties.
I knew what I was doing wrong. I'm a 42.
But that's not love either, necessarily. I mean, like, obviously, punishment for bad behavior, that's love. And that you can use that in the military, right?
Yeah.
But there's no other context, I think, where love is more necessary for the highest form of discretional effort than there is in military organizations. Right? If you ask people to put their lives literally on the line for the person that's standing next to them, there is nothing that's inseparable from love. And you'll find that I did an interview with Battalion Commander Frank Genio, who lives here recently, and he was very open about it. He says, look, that's the highest form of discretionary effort, but they don't just love you on the field. They love you to the point where they're going to take care of your family and raise your children along with your widowed spouse. When your body's carried home, like that's love. And so I think that's what we've kicked out of the office, and I think that's a shame. Is that it's the highest form of inclusion, discretionary effort, empathy, shared values, belonging, everything that you read about in leadership books these days. The highest form of all of those things is love, and we've taken that out of the boardroom and out of the executive committee office, and I think it hasn't been as profitable as we'd hoped.
Yeah, and Corrie, your book, The Spartan CEO, right? How the Spartans managed to merge this incredibly austere, rigid, but with love as well.
100%.
Right?
They needed that.
Yeah.
And remember, we've got 1 million years of wisdom in our heads, right? You're the product of 10,000 successful iterations of a survival and adaptation machine. Your ancestors earned
Don't tell him that.
Fantastic.
Your ancestors earned you the right to be born by knowing who loved them and knowing who didn't, and knowing who they loved and knowing who they didn't. That is an evolutionary cycle. It's not a spiritual concept. It is an evolutionary psychological shortcut for shared values, shared resources, belonging, default to trust. I will provide for you and protect you when you're not looking, and I've got your back.
So we've got 1,000 people wanting to start up their business now, and they're like, so, all right, guys, but give me some real cold, hard, this is how I put it into practice, this is how I pay the bills next month advice.
You're going to get some more advice from the team in just a few moments' time. What does a great leader say and do? We'll get some takes on how to build your team accordingly, what to believe, what not to believe. That's all coming from our special guest in a few moments. Thanks very much indeed for the lovely messages. Loads of people coming in already this morning. Joe saying, absolutely brilliant chat this morning. Thank you very much indeed. We'll continue with that after this.
This is Starting Up on Dubai Eye 103.8.
With Virtue Zone. Be your own boss.